Hey everyone, JD Geeks here. Today I will be covering another Nerf blaster. Well, I guess not Nerf, Worker blaster. Today I will be covering the Worker Harrier. Uh, I have not really had any issues with this. The only issue I've had, which is a part of the blaster itself, is right here. I put electrical tape along the top of this stock because it does like to pull out my facial hair. If you don't have facial hair or a lot of it, you shouldn't have an issue with it. But that's something I had an issue with. But putting a piece of electrical tape there solves the issue, no problem. Uh, the only other blaster or the only other issue I've had with this blaster is actually my own fault. I bought the Saber plunger and not the Saber catch plate. So metal plunger on plastic catch plate does not work. It actually destroyed the catch plate and I had to buy the Saber catch plate and then it works perfectly fine again. I did not have it in this blaster. I actually have it in my blue blaster, which will be I think I'll do it in this video actually. So I'll cover both blasters in this video, and that one does have the metal internals. This one is completely plastic. Well, the plunger and catch plate are plastic. It does have a metal plunger tube, and a lot of the internals are metal. But this blaster is stock from like fresh out of the box, except I threw on two iron sights from the Worker Seagull. This blaster is stock out of the box, is pretty comparable to the Mark 1.2. The Mark 1.2 is actually one of my favorite blasters. I do have a bit of nostalgia with it, I guess, even though it is more recent that I've gotten it. It just looks really cool, and I do love the way that it feels. But this blaster completely changed the ball game for me. The way that the plastic is, it is so much sturdier. This blaster with the metal Picatinny rails and the barrel that is threaded, so I can very easily change the barrels, no problem. Once you get it unthreaded, that is insane to me. And then on top of that, the air seal on this blaster is insane. The air seal, I can shoot this blaster and hold it for 10 seconds. I'll show you right now. And it will not lose any pressure. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom. Still works great. I've had this blaster for a little while now. I decided to leave this stock because I just like the way that this stock blaster looks in white. I think it is gorgeous with the bluing on the Picatinny rails and the hand guard, and I just think it looks great. So I left this one stock. It does have the heavier spring and the longer barrel in it, but it shoots about 200 feet per second. And it is not bad at all. It does come with a little decorative 5 or 6 round magazine. And one of my favorite parts of this blaster is actually right here. There's a smiley face molded into the shelling of this blaster. But other than that, I really like it. And all right, now we'll go talk about my blue one a little bit. My blue Worker Harrier is my Harrier that I've used for probably the longest time at a high FPS. I decided I wanted to change things up a bit. I threw on a different stock because it was more comfortable with the higher FPS. I have the heaviest 300 millimeter spring in here. I have the metal catch plate and the metal plunger. I taped up the hole on the plunger tube. I put the bearing slide in, and I have the 450 millimeter barrel along with the Flag and Armor B car on here, and then just a normal red green dot sight. Again, I also store this one with the 5 or 6 round mag, although I won't be using that for the FPS testing. I have the normal foregrip and the rubberized grip on this one. The blue in person looks a lot better than it actually does on video. I will say before I got the blaster, I love the color blue. I was a little bit worried, but this blaster looks amazing. I do really like the color of this blaster. With the buttstock and everything in here, it is definitely a little bit heavier than the white one, but nothing compared to something like a Saber Apex Prime. It isn't so heavy. I could hold it just like this for a long time and not even really get tired. It's not like it's heavy like an actual AR would be, but this is definitely a pretty hefty blaster. The prime on this one is definitely a little bit harder. I'll compare that in just a second with the white one. But other than that, I've had no issues with this blaster once I put in the metal catch plate. Obviously, it is good to take apart the blaster and lube it up, clean it out and lube it up. Other than that, though, one issue I do have with this blaster, which I did get thumb screws from, again, out of darts, just for this. I got both of these blasters from Out of Darts. Although not sponsored, I do love Out of Darts. Their customer service is great. Any issues that I've had, which I'll go into a bit later with my Unicorn Tactical, they've solved, and my Saber Apex Prime, any issues I've had, they've solved very, very fast. And the shipping is actually incredible. All right, back to what I was saying. I got these thumb screws from Out of Darts because in case I ever wanted to change the spring or clean the internals or anything like that, thumb screws are a little bit easier for me than the embedded black screws that it comes stock with. These thumb screws, though, you do have to have two up at the top in order to take this apart. In order to take this blaster in half, you have to remove these two and at least these two so you can slide the front half off of the rear. That is the only real issue that I ever have with this blaster, is the fact that it's not even two screws, it's four. Other than that, though, this blaster is amazing. It feels amazing, it looks amazing, and I absolutely love it. Yeah, I mean, let's get into priming. So this blaster shoots about 300 feet per second, which I will show. With the prime, I can single finger prime this blaster. It is a little heavy, but this blaster, it is nothing crazy. I do have the bearing slide in here, so it is a little bit easier with that than with the normal one. Nothing drastic though. But this blaster, I could prime this and use it in a tournament shooting 300 feet per second all day, every day, no issues. I absolutely love this blaster. It is definitely a blaster I would recommend. The only issue with this blaster is the price range. I will show the White Harrier really quick for prime. So this blaster is the Harrier again, the white one. I think I can pinky prime this blaster completely stock with the heavy spring and the long barrel in, which not a lot of people can do to my knowledge, but that just shows how easy this prime is. This prime is crazy easy. The air seal is great. And again, I'll show the FPS on this blaster later. But back to the pricing. Actually, sorry, one more thing. Another issue that is with this blaster, which is why I have these iron sights added, is because the stock iron sights that it comes with are so low that you cannot look down them without completely like taking your head and tilting it off the blaster. It is very uncomfortable. So I threw on some Seagull iron sights, and those are way better. I would definitely recommend doing that if you do want to run iron sights with this blaster. But all right, back to the price. The important thing that everyone is concerned about. This blaster, when not on sale, is $190 US. This blaster is pricey. About $200 for a blaster that only shoots 200 feet per second, when you can get the Nexus Pro X Striker, or the Venom Striker or whatever 2.0, or the even Mark 1.2. You could get all of those for less than half the price of this blaster. Why would you choose this one? The reason why I recommend it is quality. This blaster, you have not felt something this good in a Nerf blaster ever. The only wobble in this is on the foregrip, and that's because it's resting on the barrel itself. It's rounded. All it does is move in between this little gap right here. And another good thing about this blaster, there is a spring. It spring slides the everything forward, so it seals itself, and it is just the air seal on this blaster is crazy. Again, I can hold this for 10 seconds and then no problem at all. This blaster, the quality of it, that is why you're spending that extra money. If you don't care if your blaster's creaky or makes noise or anything like that, just go with one of the Nexus Pro X's or the Striker 2.0 or even the Mark 1.2. But this blaster is for quality. And again, FPS. This blaster, you can raise the FPS on this blaster to 300 feet per second. The other blasters are at 200, and if you do raise it up, it gets crazy hard to prime. As you saw, I could single finger prime the Worker Harrier. That is insane. So that is why I recommend this blaster. But all right, enough talking. Let's go to the chronograph and get FPS testing. I will see you there. Alrighty, everyone. We are now at the chronograph. First up, we will test the White Harrier. We will do regular worker darts, and then we will do 3 bamboo darts from Dart Zone. And then we will continue on to the Blue Harrier, and we will do 3 bamboo darts and then 3 worker darts, just so you can see the difference between the 2 bamboos right in a row, because that is where you get most of your FPS when you're checking these. All right, let's get testing. So again, completely stock, long barrel, long spring, but other than that, completely stock. All right, let's do these worker darts. All right, first shot, 205.8. Next shot we got 202.6. And finally, 160. That dart seems bad. Let's throw in another worker dart just to see. That does not sound accurate. All right, another worker dart, 207.7. That's better. That must have been a bad dart. All right, next up, the 3 bamboos in the White Harrier. All right, we got 232.4. Next up, 231.3. And finally, 233.5. So this blaster stock shoots about the same as the Mark 1.2. If you would rather just get the Mark 1.2, go ahead. It is a little bit cheaper, but again, the quality of these blasters is just insane. This does not move at all. The only movement is me actually moving my hands. All right, 3 bamboo darts through my higher FPS Blue Harrier. All right, first up we got 319 flat. Very fast. Next up, 312.6. Pretty good. And finally, for bamboos, 313.7. Next up, we have normal worker darts. 285.3. 283.8. And finally, last shot, 293.2. That is everything. All right, I will see you back in the display room. Alrighty, one thing I forgot to mention about these two blasters. The Worker Harrier is a only short length dart blaster. It only takes half length darts, does not take full. That might be a turnoff for some of you, but for me, I actually got used to using the half length darts with this blaster, and they do work very, very well compared to full length darts. If you are an oldie in the hobby and you prefer the full length darts, there are blasters like the Mark 1.2, which shoots about the same FPS, but it can do both full and half length. And that would probably get you into shooting half length darts more. Other than that, though, you can see even with the heavy components in the stock Worker Harrier, it is shooting just over 200. If you want to go to a 200 FPS game, you could very easily shorten the barrel, which would probably get it below 200 FPS. And then you can run a 200 FPS game with this blaster. If you put the lower spring in, I think it's about 160. So I don't think you'd be able to ever get this down below 150 unless you do some crazy customizations or mods to this blaster. And you can also get it up to 300 feet per second. As you saw with the Blue Harrier in the chronograph testing, you can easily get that blaster up to 320. I have the metal internals in there. You don't have to necessarily do that. I did that just so when I do use it, I don't risk breaking any of the plastic internals, which some people have had issues with. But that right there, it is just insane. 320 with bamboos, just under 300 with regular darts. That is a blaster that I would recommend to anyone. The Worker Harrier is a great blaster, and I, 10 out of 10, do recommend. This blaster is incredible. All right, that is about it for the Worker Harrier review. JD Geeks, signing off. Have a good one.